Hello, my name is Ryan Swamp, and this report is on the article Erosion by Raindrop by W.D. Ellison. For an introduction, this was originally published in 1948 with a focus on preventing another Dust Bowl, which had occurred in the 30s and really was devastating to agriculture in the country as a whole. Um, Ellison's main focus is on rain splash, which is one of the main drivers for erosion. Many of the issues that were raised in the publishing of this article remain pertinent today. They still exist, and we're constantly trying to fight things like soil runoff. There's a lot of important information, especially for the time. Interestingly, I didn't know this prior. Wash-off loss only accounts for 10% of total runoff, whereas rain splash contributes 90%. There's an interesting anecdote which makes the reading more relatable to farmers of the time, in which he relates the sound intensity of rain splash falling on the roof, uh, equating equally to the damage that it would do to the surface. So the louder the sound, the more damage that can be done. Um, they also covered the idea that rain splash that occurs on the slope will cause a different pattern in how that ejecta uh, comes out. Soil transport is a land leveling process. It moves all of that sediment from higher relief to lower relief. Um, Eluturation is huge as the rain splash hits the soils and it ejects the material up. The organic matter can separate and is no longer providing those nutrients for the soil. The experiments were quite simple but effective. They used buckets and coins and a simulated rainfall to kind of see how the soil would erode around the coins. And they also had a backsplash, which would see how high the ejecta would get. There's only a few critiques, especially considering how old this is. One of my main problems is that he talks about surface sealing, which is extremely important when we're talking about infiltration capacities. But he doesn't really tie in how elutriation is actually tied into this process. So he talks about elutriation and the organic matter going out of the system, but he doesn't really ever address that silt, which is left over, then actually plays into the surface sealing. He uses soil broadly. It can be kind of confusing as to what specific part of the system he's talking about at times, requiring you to reread things multiple occasions. He also suggests that to prevent soil runoff, there's a couple of techniques, but he doesn't ever really get into how or what those techniques are, requiring you to do a little bit of extra research, which, given the audience, he might want to give a little bit more. Finally, though the information's almost 80 years now old, it's still relevant today. Much of the things that he talks about still hold true in modern critical zone studies. It serves kind of as a call to arms, especially during the time of immediately following the Dust Bowl. They needed to find new solutions, and he was relaying some of the land leveling processes and erosional processes that he had discovered in his studies. And it brings to light these new concepts so that other scientists and farmers can use them. That's all for Erosion by Raindrop. Thank you. It was an interesting read, and I encourage you that if you have time and are interested in this subject, it's quite an easy read as well. Thank you.